Midnight. Footsteps at your door. The emperor wants you. Your hands shake as servants paint your face and dress you in silk. You walk through golden halls, not knowing if this is favor or death. Welcome to the Forbidden City, where you live in luxury but could die tomorrow, where beauty is power and silence is survival. This is your life as a male concubine. You didn't choose this life. Few do. Maybe you were selected for your beauty during a provincial inspection, your delicate features catching the eye of an imperial scout. Maybe your family sold you to pay off debts, their tears drying quickly once the silver changed hands. Or perhaps you were a gift, a political offering from a distant kingdom hoping to curry favor with the dragon throne. However you arrived, the moment you passed through those vermilion gates, your old life ended. You were given a new name, a palace designation, Orchid of the Eastern Garden, or Moonlight Attendant. Your birth name was buried. Your family became a memory you weren't permitted to speak of. The rules descended upon you like rain. Never look the emperor directly in the eyes unless commanded. Never speak unless spoken to. Walk 3 steps behind the eunuchs. Learn to read the slightest shift in His Majesty's mood. A tightened jaw means danger. A relaxed hand means opportunity. Memorize the hierarchy. You rank below the empress, below the consorts, below the concubines, even below some of the eunuchs who've served longer. Your chambers are beautiful, but they're also a cage. Carved rosewood furniture, silk curtains embroidered with phoenixes, a bed draped in fabric softer than clouds. Everything designed to remind you that you are ornamental, decorative, replaceable. You share your courtyard with others like you. Young men with porcelain skin and careful smiles. You learn quickly not to trust them. Every friendship is conditional. Every confidence could become a weapon. But let's be honest. There are moments when this life feels like a dream. You wear robes that provincial governors could never afford. Silk so fine it seems to float rather than drape. Colors reserved for royalty, imperial yellow, forbidden purple, jade green, pearls sewn into your collars, gold thread tracing patterns of cranes and clouds across your sleeves. The food is extraordinary. While peasants outside the palace walls survive on millet and vegetables, you dine on delicacies that read like poetry. Bird's nest soup, abalone braised in wine, duck tongue, lotus seeds candied with honey, lychees transported thousands of miles in ice. Every meal is a small ceremony, served on porcelain plates worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. You have access to gardens that feel like stepping into a painted scroll, artificial mountains with hidden grottos, ponds filled with golden koi the size of your arm, pavilions where musicians play instruments carved from jade and ivory. In spring, the plum blossoms fall like snow. In autumn, chrysanthemums bloom in colors you didn't know existed. You attend banquets where the entertainment is legendary. Acrobats who defy gravity. Dancers whose movements tell stories older than the dynasty. Opera performers in masks that transform them into gods and demons. Sometimes you perform too. You've been trained in poetry, calligraphy, music. You play the guqin while the emperor drinks wine, your fingers moving across strings like water over stones. This is the gilded part of your cage, the luxury that makes the bars harder to see. And then there's him, the emperor, the son of heaven, the man whose word can reshape reality. When he summons you, time fractures. Everything moves too fast and too slow simultaneously. You're escorted through corridors most palace inhabitants will never see, past guards whose faces are carved from stone, into chambers that smell of sandalwood and secrets. Sometimes he wants conversation. You discuss poetry, philosophy, the nature of power. He tests you, asking questions designed to reveal your intelligence, your ambition, your loyalty. You've learned to answer honestly enough to seem genuine, but carefully enough to avoid danger. Never appear too clever, never seem threatening. Sometimes he wants beauty. He watches you pour tea, arrange flowers, practice calligraphy. You are a living painting, and he is the collector. In these moments, you feel the weight of his gaze like physical pressure. You are being evaluated, appraised, judged. Sometimes he wants intimacy. These nights are the most dangerous. In the dragon bed, beneath embroidered canopies, the most powerful man in the world is vulnerable. He whispers things he would never say in court, fears about heirs, doubts about ministers, resentments about the empress. You listen, you comfort, you never forget a single word because information is the only currency you have. But you also never repeat what you hear because the emperor's favor is as changeable as weather. The man who held you close last night might have you executed tomorrow if he suspects betrayal. You live in his shadow, warm when he smiles, freezing when he doesn't. The palace is a battlefield where the weapons are whispers. You're surrounded by rivals, other male concubines who want the emperor's attention, female concubines who resent your presence, eunuchs who wield power through proximity, court officials who see you as a distraction from governance. Everyone wants something, and everyone is plotting. Lady Consort Wei spreads rumors that you practice witchcraft, that you've placed charms in the emperor's tea to maintain his favor. You retaliate by befriending her most trusted servant and learning about her secret correspondence with her family, letters that hint at political ambitions. You don't expose her directly, that would be crude. Instead, you mention casually to a eunuch that you overhead something concerning. The information travels up through channels, and suddenly Lady Wei is under investigation. She never learns it was you. A fellow male concubine named Azure Lotus was your closest friend. Was. Past tense. He asked you one night about the emperor's schedule, claiming he wanted to prepare a surprise performance. You told him. The next day, assassins tried to ambush His Majesty during a morning walk. Azure Lotus was executed slowly, over 3 days, while the palace watched. You still don't know if he was truly involved or if he was set up. Either way, you learned your lesson. Trust is a luxury you cannot afford. You build alliances carefully. An elderly eunuch who controls access to the emperor's chambers. You gift him rare teas and listen to his stories. A mid-level official who audits palace expenditures. You flatter his poetry and introduce him to your calligraphy teacher. The head seamstress. You praise her work and ensure she knows the emperor noticed. These relationships are your insurance policy. Because in the Forbidden City, you're either player or pawn, and pawns don't survive long. You've seen what happens when the emperor's interest fades. There was Crimson Autumn, who once sat where you sit now. He grew comfortable, complacent. He complained about the quality of his accommodations. He arrived late to a summons. He corrected the emperor's calligraphy in front of a visiting dignitary. Small mistakes, fatal mistakes. First, the invitations stopped coming. Then his servants were reassigned. Then his food quality declined. Then one morning, he was simply gone. Some say he was sent to a monastery. Others say he was given poison disguised as medicine. No one knows for certain. No one asks. You remember Pearl Attendant, who fell ill with a fever. For a week, he couldn't perform his duties. When he recovered, his position had been filled by someone younger, more beautiful, healthier. He was reassigned to work in the palace libraries, a living death of irrelevance. You saw him once afterward, his face hollow, his eyes empty. He looked like a ghost haunting his own life. And there was Silver Phoenix, who made the ultimate mistake. He fell in love with a palace maid. They were discovered in a garden pavilion, holding hands beneath the moon. Both were executed. The method was called slow slicing. I won't describe it. You attended the execution because attendance was mandatory. You didn't eat for 3 days afterward. Every morning you check your reflection obsessively. Is your skin still flawless? Are there lines beginning around your eyes? Is your hair as lustrous as yesterday? You're 23 years old and you feel yourself aging like flowers wilt. Certain, unstoppable, terrifying. Because in this golden cage, beauty is currency, and when your currency devalues, you become expendable. But beneath the ceremonies and hierarchies, the Forbidden City pulses with hidden currents of power. You've learned things that would shock the common people who kowtow outside these walls. The empress is not faithful. She has a lover among the palace guards, a man she communicates with through coded poetry. The crown prince is not the emperor's biological son. Everyone in the inner court knows, but speaking this truth is treason. The minister of rights is embezzling tribute gifts and replacing them with counterfeits. You discovered this because one of his servants tried to bribe you for information. You've become a spy without meaning to. Information flows through you like water through a filter. Eunuchs gossip in your presence because they don't consider you important. Officials confide in you because you seem harmless. The emperor himself reveals secrets when his guard is down, assuming you're too powerless to matter. But you've learned to weaponize these secrets carefully. You never use them directly. That's how people get killed. Instead, you feed information to those who can act on it. You ensure the right person overhears a conversation. You leave documents where they'll be discovered. You plant seeds and let others take credit for the harvest. There are also moments of genuine connection in this artificial world. A fellow concubine who shares midnight conversations about the lives you left behind. A sympathetic eunuch who warns you when danger approaches. A servant girl who brings you extra food when you're unwell. These small humanities are rare flowers in a desert of ambition. And then there are your own secrets. Letters you've written but never sent. A jade pendant from your mother that you've hidden beneath a floorboard. Dreams of escape that you know will never materialize. A forbidden attraction to someone you can never have. You are a keeper of secrets in a city built on secrets. And sometimes, late at night, you wonder if you'll die without anyone ever knowing who you really are. History will not remember your name. The official records will mention the emperor's campaigns, his edicts, his monuments. They'll chronicle the empress, the princes, the ministers. If you're lucky, you might appear as a footnote. Among His Majesty's attendants was, followed by your palace name, stripped of context, emptied of life. But your impact ripples through time in ways historians can't trace. That poem you wrote that influenced the emperor's thinking on tax reform. The information you passed that prevented an assassination. The comfort you provided during a crisis that stabilized the emperor's mind when the empire needed it most. These contributions are invisible ink on history's page. You think about the male concubines who came before you, the ones whose names are lost. What were their dreams? What did they sacrifice? What moments of beauty or terror defined their lives? The palace has been here for centuries, and men like you have walked these corridors for generations. Each one believing their experience was unique, never knowing they were part of an endless pattern. Sometimes you wonder what will happen to you. Will you age out and be sent away with a small pension? Will you die here forgotten in some back courtyard? Will you be executed for a crime real or imagined? Or will you be one of the rare lucky ones who survives long enough to gain a position of quiet influence, becoming the trusted advisor who guides emperors from behind silk curtains? You're living a life that shouldn't exist according to official narratives. The empire doesn't acknowledge you. Confucian scholars write that you're a symptom of moral decline. Common people imagine you as either a villain or a victim. But the truth is more complicated. You're a human being trapped in an inhuman system, making impossible choices with grace and courage that no one will ever recognize. You are the secret the palace keeps from itself. You lived in a golden cage, wore silk but had no freedom, knew secrets that could destroy empires. History erased your name, but your story matters. Because you were human before you were beautiful. You survived when survival seemed impossible. And now you know, the most powerless people often hold the most dangerous truths.